Hey, greetings. Here we are again exploring the Feldenkrais method and learning about ourselves. We're going to continue with the thread of sitting, and we've connected sitting to the hip joints and the feet. And now we're going to connect the feet to the hip joints to the spine. In preparation, long pomp and circumstance, great ritual before we sit to prepare ourselves to stand from sitting, excuse me. All right, so here we are on our chair with our sits bones on the edge of the front edge of the chair with our knees bent and our feet directly underneath our knees. The first thing I'd like you to do with your hands on your legs is just to stand up. So go ahead and begin to stop. Do it again. Go ahead and begin to stop. So you're going to continue to begin at the beginning and find where's the beginning of sitting for you. What's the first thing you do? You tighten your thighs. You tighten your hamstrings, you push into the floor, your pelvis goes behind you, your head comes way forward, you think about going up. So repeat this many times. This idea of what do I do before I stand? What's the thing that I do? Repeat that many times. Then, and also I want you to notice the effort involved in that. And then come back to the chair. And would you please just think about beginning to bow forward, bringing your head over your knees. And think of it like a bow, like a ceremonial bow. You don't have to put your palms together, but you're moving very slowly. And like we did in the very first of this series of lessons, that's on June 22nd, you're rocking forward on your sits bones. You're rolling to the front of your sits bones as you glacially sense what it's like to take your whole spine from your sits bones forward, keeping your head along with the movement rather than cutting off your head. Okay? So many times. And then let's go back to something that we did in the first series, the first of this series on June 22nd. We arched the back, do you remember that? And we rounded the back, so we rounded to the back of the sits bones and curved everything, head and tail forward and spine rounded back. Then we went the opposite direction so that everything came forward in the middle and the two ends went behind us. All right, so now try this. Unweight both of your feet together and notice what your pelvis does. And without any preconceived notion, just keep unweighting your feet. Does that pull your pelvis forward or does it push your pelvis back? What's the direction your pelvis goes when you begin to unweight your feet? It goes forward, doesn't it? So the top of the pelvis, the front of the pelvis, goes forward and down a little bit as the pubic bone between the legs goes into the chair. I hope you can see this. It's not a lot, it's a little. Now, what happens when I push into the ground? Do that many times. Just the beginning of the movement. You're only looking for the inclination, not the perfect completion of the movement, or not as far as you can go. So really study it many times. And what happens is that your pelvis goes backwards, not forwards. And it does that same movement of rolling to the back of the sits bones that we did in the earlier version of this lesson. So if I push into the ground to prepare myself to stand up, that makes my pelvis go backwards. So I have what's called contradictory movement. I've got some complicated things going on that are going on in the opposite direction than each other. So I'm not coordinated, am I? I've got two voices that want to sing their own song and they don't want to sing the song together. So what happens if I think about drawing the ground up into me as I don't unweight my feet, but I think about drawing the ground up into me, taking all of myself forward. Notice that my knees go forward. This chair is tipping on me, I'm sorry. Notice that if I take my whole self forward and I bring my pubic bone down towards the chair, not by arching the back a lot like that, but just by taking the whole spine forward, I'll notice that I can bring my weight, the weight of my pelvis, the weight of my sacrum, more over my hip joints. So in order to stand up, I have to get this part of me over the hip joints and the hip joints over the knees. So just play with tilting yourself forward and with this idea that you're drawing your legs up into you. You're not unweighting your legs. You're not going that far, but you're not pushing into the ground. When you push into the ground, your knees go backwards. How can I stand up? You can't really see that very well. When I push into the ground, my knees go backwards. Here, let me give you a marker. When I unweight and draw my legs up into me and come forward, my knees go forward. That's what I want to be doing, because to sit up, I don't want to go up. I want to go on a trajectory forward and up. And that's where we're going to end right now. Play with it a lot. Play with it several days in a row. You'll be surprised what you discover, particularly if you don't push it and you slow way down and you just listen, 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 listen. All right? Thanks for watching.